You probably think you know Young Guns. The Brat Pack rides horses, shoots guns, and looks cool doing it. But behind the swagger and the stylized violence was a production shaped by chaos, strange decisions, and moments nobody was supposed to see. There's a superstar hiding in the final shootout who was never credited. Improvised gunfights nearly went wrong. Actors pushed for darker deaths, and pranks derailed serious scenes in ways you wouldn't believe. The weird secrets about Young Guns you didn't know, starting with a famous face you completely missed. Number 1. The superstar nobody spotted in the crowd. During the climactic shootout at the McSween house, bullets fly, windows shatter, and chaos erupts everywhere. But hidden in that mayhem is one of the biggest movie stars of the 1980s, Tom Cruise. He appears briefly, uncredited, and most viewers have never spotted him despite watching the film multiple times. Cruise wasn't originally part of the production at all. He simply showed up on set to visit his close friends Emilio Estevez and Charlie Sheen during filming. When he arrived, the crew was deep into shooting the intense final battle sequence. Rather than sitting back and watching from the sidelines, Cruise was handed a period costume and thrown directly into the action as an unnamed extra. The cameo was never promoted, publicized, or even acknowledged by the studio. No press releases announced his appearance, and Cruise's name doesn't show up anywhere in the credits. For years, only cast and crew members who worked on the film knew he was actually there. It remained an inside secret passed among those in the know. It's the kind of hidden detail that rewards careful rewatching. A genuine A-lister buried in the smoky background of one of the decade's most iconic Western shootouts, hiding in plain sight. Number 2. Shootouts filmed without a single plan. The shootouts in this film have a raw, unpredictable energy that feels completely intentional. Bullets seem to come from every direction at once. Actors scramble and react with genuine urgency and fear, but that chaos wasn't carefully choreographed at all. It was the result of a deliberate creative choice to throw out the traditional rulebook entirely. Director Christopher Kane wanted the gunfights to feel dangerous and instinctive rather than polished and staged. Instead of meticulously mapping out every movement, camera angle, and reaction shot, he encouraged the actors to respond naturally to the mayhem around them. They weren't always told exactly when shots would fire or precisely where other actors would move. The result was genuine surprise and confusion captured directly on camera. This unconventional approach carried real risks on set. Without precise choreography, the margin for error shrank dramatically. Blank rounds still produced dangerous muzzle flash, hot gases, and flying debris. But Kane believed the trade-off was worth it. The raw authenticity you feel watching those chaotic scenes comes directly from actors who genuinely didn't know what was coming next. Number 3. The actor who fought for an uglier death. When Dirty Steve Stevens meets his end in the film, it's not a clean or heroic exit by any measure. The death is ugly, unsettling, and lingers uncomfortably in a way most Western demises simply don't. That disturbing quality is exactly what Dermot Mulroney fought for during production. Mulroney felt strongly that his character deserved something raw and genuinely uncomfortable to watch. Dirty Steve wasn't a noble gunslinger riding into the sunset. He was a scrappy, morally questionable outlaw with few redeeming qualities. A dignified, romanticized death simply wouldn't fit the character he'd built. So Mulroney approached the filmmakers directly with specific suggestions to make the moment more visceral and harder to watch. The crew collaborated closely with Mulroney to execute his darker vision using practical effects. The result is a death scene that stands out precisely because it refuses to romanticize the violence. While other characters receive dramatic final moments with meaningful last words, Dirty Steve's end feels abrupt and harsh. It's a testament to how actor-driven input can push scenes beyond what the script originally imagined. Number 4. The day Sutherland blew himself up early. Practical effects in the 1980s required absolute precision, perfect timing, and honestly, a little bit of luck. Blood squibs, small explosive charges carefully hidden under clothing to simulate bullet impacts, were standard tools of the trade. But they were also notoriously unpredictable and temperamental. Kiefer Sutherland learned that lesson the hard way during production. During preparation for one scene, Sutherland accidentally triggered his squibs before cameras were even rolling. The small charges detonated prematurely with a loud pop, sending streams of fake blood splattering everywhere and completely ruining the carefully prepared effect. The entire crew had to stop filming immediately, clean up the mess, reset all the charges from scratch, and start the painstaking process over again. It was a costly mistake that ate up significant shooting time. Resetting practical blood effects wasn't quick. Each squib had to be reloaded, positioned correctly, wired properly, and tested before filming could resume. The incident served as a vivid reminder of how fragile these analog techniques really were. One wrong move and hours of preparation could vanish in a messy instant. Number 5. The sound that killed a serious scene. Even on the most intense and dramatic film sets, juvenile humor somehow always finds a way to break through. During the shooting of one particularly tense and emotional scene, someone on set passed gas loudly enough to completely derail the entire take. What followed was exactly what you'd expect from a group of young actors barely out of their 20s. The cast simply couldn't hold it together no matter how hard they tried. Laughter spread contagiously across the set like wildfire, and maintaining any semblance of the serious tone became absolutely impossible. Take after take fell apart as actors kept breaking character the moment they made eye contact with each other. Even the more experienced crew members struggled to keep straight faces. It's the kind of moment that never makes it into polished behind-the-scenes documentaries, but becomes legendary among those who were actually there. The contrast between the film's gritty, violent tone and grown men giggling like teenagers captures something essential about filmmaking. No matter how serious the material, sometimes the most human moments win out. Number 6. That warm hot tub scene was filmed in freezing cold. One of the film's more relaxed moments shows the regulators unwinding together in a steaming hot tub, joking and bonding like old friends. It looks comfortable, warm, and leisurely on screen. Behind the camera, the reality was the complete opposite. The cast was absolutely miserable during the entire shoot. Filming took place during harsh winter conditions in New Mexico, where temperatures dropped dramatically once the sun went down. The production had to constantly work to keep the water warm enough to produce visible steam while the actors shivered between takes. Every time cameras stopped rolling, the cast would scramble to grab towels and blankets before hypothermia set in. The crew pumped hot water continuously to maintain the illusion. What appears on screen as a carefree moment of male bonding was actually an endurance test for everyone involved. The actors had to look relaxed and comfortable while fighting off the cold, and their breath would sometimes fog in the frigid air just out of frame. It's a perfect example of how movie magic can completely transform suffering into something that looks effortless. That cozy scene required genuine physical toughness to pull off convincingly. Number 7. The hallucination scene, with nothing in it. The infamous peyote sequence is one of the most memorable and visually striking moments in the entire film. The regulators experience vivid hallucinations, the camera work becomes disorienting, and reality seems to melt away completely. But despite how convincing the scene looks, no actual substances of any kind were involved during filming. The actors consumed nothing more exotic than water and vitamin supplements during the shoot. Everything else was pure performance combined with clever visual techniques. The hallucinatory effects were achieved through creative camera angles, unusual lighting setups, and smart editing choices in post-production. The actors simply had to imagine their altered states and sell the experience through their reactions. It's a testament to both the performers and the filmmakers that the scene works as well as it does. Without any chemical assistance whatsoever, the cast had to portray a completely convincing altered state of consciousness. The disorientation and strange behavior all came from careful preparation and committed acting. What feels like a genuinely trippy cinematic experience was manufactured entirely through old-fashioned Hollywood craftsmanship and imagination. Number 8. Actual outlaws kept watch over the set. Filming in remote New Mexico locations presented unique security challenges for the production. The solution the filmmakers found was unconventional to say the least. They hired actual biker gang members to work as extras and provide set security. Real outlaws protecting a movie about fictional ones. The bikers took their jobs seriously and brought an authentic edge to the production that couldn't have been manufactured. Their presence changed the atmosphere on set in ways both subtle and obvious. Cast and crew members reported that the location felt genuinely different with these hardened individuals patrolling the perimeter. There was an undeniable tension that came from working alongside people who lived outside the law. The decision added a layer of weirdness to an already unconventional shoot. Here was a Hollywood production about legendary outlaws being guarded by modern-day outlaws with their own codes and reputations. Some crew members found it intimidating, while others appreciated the added authenticity. Either way, it blurred the line between the Wild West mythology on screen and a very different kind of outlaw culture standing just behind the cameras. Number 9. The entire score got thrown out late. The music you hear in the finished film almost didn't exist. The original score composed for the movie was rejected late in post-production, forcing the filmmakers to scramble for a replacement with very little time remaining before the release date. It was a risky decision that could have derailed the entire project. The original score simply didn't match the tone the director wanted. It felt wrong against the images, undermining the energy and attitude that made the film special. Rather than settle for music that didn't work, the production made the difficult call to throw it out entirely and start fresh. Composer Anthony Marinelli was brought in to create an entirely new score under intense time pressure. The replacement score had to be written, recorded, and mixed in a fraction of the normal time. Marinelli worked around the clock to deliver music that actually complemented the film's rebellious spirit. The result became an integral part of the movie's identity. It's remarkable to consider how close the film came to having a completely different sound, one that might have changed how audiences responded to those iconic scenes entirely. Number 10. The gore effect that came from a grocery store. When violence erupts on screen and things get graphically messy, audiences assume sophisticated special effects are at work. But in the 1980s, practical effects often relied on surprisingly crude materials. For certain gory moments in this film, the effects team reached for something you'd find in any grocery store: raw hamburger meat. The ground beef provided exactly the right texture and color to simulate organic matter on camera. It was cheap, readily available, and disturbingly convincing when photographed correctly. The effects crew would prepare the meat, position it carefully, and let the cameras capture the gruesome results. No fancy prosthetics or expensive materials required. It's a reminder that effective filmmaking often comes down to creative problem-solving rather than big budgets. The hamburger looked absolutely real on screen because, in a sense, it was real, just not what audiences assumed they were seeing. These low-tech solutions were the backbone of practical effects work during this era. Sometimes the most believable movie moments come from the simplest and most unexpected sources imaginable. Number 11. A live sheep appeared where no one expected. Long shoots in remote locations can wear on a cast and crew, and morale becomes essential to keeping a production running smoothly. During filming, someone decided to boost spirits in the most absurd way possible, by sneaking a live sheep into an unexpected place as a prank. The result became one of the most talked about moments among the cast. The details of exactly how and where the sheep appeared have become part of set legend. What's clear is that the animal showed up somewhere completely unexpected, catching cast members off guard and sparking genuine confusion before laughter took over. The prank broke tension that had been building during the demanding shoot and gave everyone a shared moment of ridiculous joy. It became one of those memories that bonded the cast together long after filming wrapped. Years later, actors would still bring up the sheep incident in interviews and conversations about the production. On a set filled with serious Western drama, gunfights and death scenes, a single farm animal provided the comic relief everyone desperately needed. The prank succeeded in lifting spirits during an otherwise grueling shoot. Number 12. Chavez was originally a much smaller part. The character of Chavez has become one of the most beloved figures in the film, thanks largely to Lou Diamond Phillips' magnetic performance. But early in production, the role was conceived as significantly smaller than what ended up on screen. Chavez wasn't meant to have nearly as much presence or screen time. As filming progressed, it became impossible to ignore what Phillips was bringing to every scene. His intensity, charisma, and physical commitment elevated the character far beyond the original conception. The filmmakers recognized they had something special and began finding ways to expand Chavez's role organically throughout the shoot. Additional moments were written or extended to capitalize on Phillips's talents. The final film reflects those production adjustments clearly. Chavez feels like a central figure rather than a supporting player, and Phillips's performance became one of the most memorable elements of the entire movie. It's a perfect example of how smart filmmakers remain flexible during production. Sometimes an actor transforms a role so completely that the script has to evolve to match what's happening on camera. Number 13. Phillips delivered that speech with a dangerous fever. One of the most emotionally powerful scenes in the film features Chavez delivering an intense, passionate speech that resonates long after the credits roll. Lou Diamond Phillips brought raw conviction to every word, and audiences felt the weight of the moment deeply. What nobody watching could have known was that Phillips was battling a dangerously high fever during the entire shoot. The production schedule simply couldn't accommodate delays for illness. Time was money, locations were booked, and the entire crew was waiting. Phillips pushed through, despite feeling genuinely terrible, channeling whatever energy remained into his performance. The fever created real physical strain that somehow translated into even greater emotional intensity on screen. His commitment to finishing the scene despite his condition impressed everyone on set. Watching the scene with this knowledge completely reframes what's happening on camera. That slightly glazed look in his eyes, the trembling conviction in his voice, some of it came from genuine physical distress rather than pure acting technique. What appears to be a masterful performance was also an act of sheer endurance. Phillips wasn't just acting through the scene, he was surviving it. Sometimes the most powerful moments emerge when actors have no choice but to dig deeper than they ever planned. Number 14. One star could barely stay in the saddle. Westerns demand convincing horsemanship. Actors need to look like they've spent their lives in the saddle, riding hard across open terrain. Charlie Sheen looked confident enough on screen, but behind the scenes, he struggled significantly with riding. His lack of equestrian experience created constant challenges for the production team. Sheen simply hadn't grown up around horses and couldn't develop years of muscle memory in a few weeks of training. While some cast members took to riding naturally, Sheen required extra coaching and careful camera work to mask his discomfort. The crew became experts at finding angles that made him look more capable than he felt. Certain shots required creative solutions and strategic editing to maintain the illusion. Wider shots sometimes used riding doubles, while close-ups focused on Sheen's face rather than his body position in the saddle. The final film creates an impression of competence that simply didn't exist in reality. It's another example of how movie magic can transform genuine struggle into something that looks completely effortless. Number 15. A single movie line became a rap anthem. Dialogue from the film found an unexpected second life years after the movie left theaters. Casey Siamasco, playing Charlie Bowdre, delivered a line that would eventually become embedded in hip-hop history. His words were sampled directly in Regulate by Warren G and Nate Dogg, one of the most iconic West Coast rap tracks of the 1990s. The song became a massive hit, introducing Bowdre's dialogue to millions of listeners who might never have watched a Western in their lives. The sample fit perfectly into the track's laid-back California vibe, giving the movie an entirely new cultural dimension. What started as a moment in a period drama about outlaws transformed into a staple of 1990s hip-hop radio and mixtapes across the country. Siamashko himself had no idea his voice had crossed genres until years after the song's release. Nobody from the production informed him about the sample, and he discovered the connection long after Regulate had already become a classic. It's a strange form of immortality for a piece of movie dialogue. That single line now lives in two completely separate worlds, the dusty frontier of the Old West and the urban soundscapes of West Coast rap culture. Number 16. One line quietly corrects a decades-old myth. For decades, popular culture spread a persistent misconception about Billy the Kid. The myth became so ingrained that most people accepted it as historical fact without question. This film subtly addresses that error through a brief but deliberate line of dialogue that most viewers probably missed entirely. The misconception involves basic details about Billy's life that had been distorted through countless retellings in books, films, and folklore. Rather than making a big dramatic statement about setting the record straight, the filmmakers chose a quieter approach. A single line corrects the myth almost in passing, rewarding viewers who actually pay attention to what's being said. It's the kind of historical care that demonstrates genuine respect for the source material. The writers could have simply repeated the popular myth like so many Westerns before them. Instead, they did their research and found a way to acknowledge the truth without disrupting the narrative flow. For history buffs watching closely, it's a small but satisfying moment of authenticity buried within the entertainment. Number 17. Someone whistles a song that didn't exist yet. A memorable moment in the film features a character whistling a recognizable tune that perfectly fits the mood of the scene. The melody feels natural and appropriate for the Old West setting. There's just one problem. The song hadn't been written yet during the time period depicted on screen. The tune was actually composed years after the events portrayed in the movie. Someone in 1878 couldn't have possibly known the melody because it simply didn't exist yet. The filmmakers clearly knew about this anachronism, but decided the emotional impact was more important than strict historical accuracy. The whistled tune worked too well to cut for the sake of timeline purity. It's a deliberate creative choice that prioritizes mood over authenticity. Most audiences would never notice or care about the discrepancy, and the scene plays beautifully regardless of the historical impossibility. But for sharp-eared viewers who recognize the tune and know its actual origins, there's an amusing little error hiding in plain sight. Sometimes filmmakers choose feeling over fact, and this is a perfect example. Number 18. One actor never gave back his costume. When filming wraps on a major production, costumes typically return to wardrobe departments or storage facilities. Actors rarely get to keep the clothes they wore on screen, no matter how attached they might become during months of shooting. But one cast member managed to hold onto a significant costume piece permanently after this production ended. The item held deep personal significance for the actor beyond its value as movie memorabilia. Wearing it for weeks during an intense shoot created an emotional attachment that went beyond simple nostalgia. When filming concluded, the actor made arrangements to keep the piece rather than surrendering it to the studio. The exact circumstances of how this was negotiated remain private. It's a quietly sentimental detail from a production filled with gunfights and chaos. While fans remember the action and attitude, at least one performer walked away with a tangible piece of the experience. That costume piece presumably still exists somewhere, a physical connection to a film that defined a particular moment in 1980s cinema. Some movie memories live in wardrobes rather than on screen. Number 19. A famous musician was running the Gatling gun. During the intense final battle, a Gatling gun unleashes devastating firepower on the besieged regulators. The weapon dominates the scene, but few viewers ever noticed who was actually operating it. Behind that deadly piece of machinery sat a famous musician, making a completely silent and uncredited cameo appearance. The musician happened to have connections to the production and arranged to appear in the film without any fanfare or announcement. Unlike typical celebrity cameos designed for audience recognition, this one was buried in chaos and gun smoke. The performer never speaks a word, and the camera doesn't linger on identifying features. You'd have to know exactly where to look. It's the second hidden celebrity appearance in the same climactic sequence, joining Tom Cruise among the unnoticed famous faces. The final shootout apparently attracted notable visitors who wanted to participate without seeking attention. For a scene depicting violent chaos, there's something amusing about multiple celebrities hiding in plain sight, operating weapons and dodging bullets, while audiences remained completely unaware. Number 20. That Irish song hadn't been written yet either. Music plays a significant role in establishing the film's emotional atmosphere throughout. One scene features an Irish song that perfectly captures the moment's sentiment and cultural flavor. The melody feels authentic to the period and appropriate for the characters singing it. Unfortunately, the timeline doesn't actually work. The song was written well after the events depicted in the story would have taken place. Characters in 1878 couldn't have known lyrics that wouldn't be composed for years to come. Like the whistled tune mentioned earlier, this represents a deliberate choice to prioritize familiarity and emotional resonance over historical precision. The song worked too well to sacrifice for accuracy. Two musical anachronisms in the same film suggests a clear production philosophy. The filmmakers wanted audiences to feel connected to the music, rather than distanced by obscure period-accurate songs nobody would recognize. It's a reasonable trade-off for entertainment purposes, even if historians might cringe slightly. The emotional truth mattered more than the calendar truth. Number 21. The ending made history tidier than it really was. The film concludes with a relatively clean resolution that provides emotional closure for the audience. Characters meet their fates, loose ends get tied up, and viewers leave with a sense of completion. But the actual historical aftermath of these events was considerably messier, more complicated, and far less cinematically satisfying. Real history rarely provides neat endings, and the Lincoln County War was no exception. What actually happened to the real people involved stretched out over years and involved complications that would have muddied the film's narrative momentum. The filmmakers made conscious decisions to simplify, condense, and occasionally alter the historical record to create a more satisfying dramatic conclusion. It's an understandable choice that most historical films make to some degree. Absolute accuracy would have required either a much longer runtime or a more ambiguous ending that might have frustrated audiences. The softened conclusion lets viewers walk away entertained rather than burdened by messy historical reality. Sometimes the legend becomes the preferred version of events, and Hollywood has always understood that instinct. Young Guns isn't just remembered for its style, attitude, and Brat Pack swagger. Behind every iconic scene was a production shaped by chaos, improvisation, and genuinely strange decisions. Tom Cruise hid in a shootout nobody knew about. Gunfights were filmed without choreography. Actors pushed for darker deaths while others accidentally triggered their own blood effects. A sheep boosted morale, hamburger meat stood in for brains, and real outlaws guarded the set. The film's raw energy wasn't just performance. It was built into the fabric of how the movie got made. What looks effortless on screen required endurance, creativity, and a willingness to embrace the unexpected. Actors shivered through hot tub scenes, delivered emotional speeches while burning with fever, and faked riding skills they never actually possessed. Two different songs shouldn't exist in the time period, and the ending quietly softened history to give audiences the closure they wanted. These hidden details don't diminish the film, they make it more fascinating. If you enjoyed discovering these secrets, hit that like button and subscribe for more movie deep dives. Let us know in the comments which details surprised you the most. Was it the hidden celebrities, the crude practical effects, or something else entirely?